Good morning and welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochrane, and of course, I'm joined this morning by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Another Sunday show. I was on a jet plane last night, Rob, or yesterday.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're just traveling around these days.
Yeah, things. And I had last week just an insane flight schedule. It took me 20 hours to get to Florida because of Houston, and then they rerouted me crazy on the way back. So it wasn't as bad. 15 hours to get back, which is normally about an 11-hour trip. So I went
Yeah.
to Newark, and then, but I did get an upgrade all the way home. So I can't, and it's better than have 5 feet of water in your house too. So I'm not
No,
complaining.
that's true. Yeah, we can't complain. Definitely that hurricane really disrupted a lot of air traffic too.
Yeah.
So,
So it's
yeah.
sad, in that situation. I've been without power at times, and yeah, it wasn't good. But anyway, everyone, welcome to the show. We've got a lot to talk about, and today I'm putting on my Master Inquisitor hat. So Rob
I
is
can imagine what that might be about.
no,
Yes.
no, not at all. I'm ready here to be do the Spanish Inquisition on Rob. So, the only thing is he's not here with me, so I can't use the stretching machine and the gallows, to squeeze answers out of him. So, but we'll.
Okay. Yeah, I already know about the stretching machine. That's how I got so tall, Todd. So,
But of course, I'm referring to the merger of Blog Talk Radio and Spreaker. So we'll save that for
yeah.
a little bit later and see if we can
That's right.
push.
You gotta wait around a little bit in order to catch that. No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
because
We'll get to it when we get to
yeah,
it, right?
Federico said he was gonna you were banned. You couldn't do the show no more because of all this. But anyway, it'll be all in good fun, and and we'll
Oh, sure.
try not to get Rob fired today. Um,
I know you'll go to extra effort on that one.
no, no, no. And you're a big boy. You're gonna be able to stay clear of my inquisition.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
So anyway, I wish we could have done a show last week, but again, I'm at fault. I was, again traveling. But so, wow, what do you think of podcast movement? What's your takeaway from
Well, it definitely felt a little different this year, uh, but it's normal. Jared and Dan did a great job of pulling
yeah,
the event together, and I thought it was, it definitely was corral and cats. So I think they did a great job of taking it to the next level. I think every year they keep surprising me
yeah,
about what they can do.
you know what?
It just gets more professional and handling more people, and it's really great.
Yeah, I think that I was I think I gave him one. I think I gave Dan one piece of feedback, and that was it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
um, but otherwise, yeah, I never had people sitting on the floor during a session. I had people on the floor, Rob. I mean, they were literally sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And even our Saturday and not Saturday, our Friday session, which would normally be kind of like this, you would be worried because some people would already maybe be headed home near the end of the
Yeah.
event. Even that was good. We had a full house for that too. So I, I,
Yeah.
I can't, no complaints whatsoever um, on the attendance in the room. So if other sessions were as full, they need bigger rooms. I don't know if all the sessions were that way or not,
I know my other session was maybe three-quarters full, so it wasn't, and I wasn't really expecting it to
but
be
still,
packed like that. I mean, geolocal podcast is not for everybody,
well,
so
3 quarters on a geo coastal or geo, yeah, that's still,
geolocal
yeah,
podcasting session.
geolocal.
Yeah.
That's still big.
Yeah.
That's probably still 60 people.
Yeah.
And I was trying to
Oh yeah,
count. I was trying.
definitely.
I was trying to count those rooms, and they actually had to turn people away. They were worried about fire marshal stuff. If they could actually get out because they had them on the wall. It was packed end to end. But I don't know. I'm very, very pleased with that. Um, the nighttime events, I didn't. I stayed in the hotel. I didn't get to the nighttime events. Did you get to the nighttime events?
Yeah, I did. I went to both of them. Um, they were well, mostly they were outside,
Well,
so they actually had them outside.
yeah, the one that
Yeah.
was after the awards that went to that event I didn't go to. We ended all up at the pool. So
Oh, okay.
that first
Yeah, I
night.
went to the one after the awards, and it was on like the rooftop of a building or a hotel over
Oh,
a building or something like that. I'm not sure
right.
what it was. Um, and it was great because it was outside, which means there isn't that echo or that um, sound decibel level
Yeah.
of 200 or 300 people in a room, and everybody's trying to scream over the top of
Mm-hmm.
others to hear each other.
That's
So
cool.
it didn't have that issue. So it was really great in that way.
Now, speaking of the
Um,
awards, everyone, Rob wore tux. So,
I did.
so we,
Well, kind of a half tux.
okay, you still were the best dressed man there. So,
Okay, yeah, there you go.
and I think Rob came walking into the. I was introducing Rob, and for some reason I was nervous as a cat. I don't know why, but
Really?
yeah, I don't know. I just well, here's what it was. We were preceded by like these incredible speeches and introductions. These dialogues of I was just like I've taken like you know talking points, but people had these like before us. I had these really exotic and introductions, and I'm like, I am gonna look like a turd. Um,
No,
so
actually,
I
it's
was,
fine.
I added a few things. So I was, thinking some because, and then of course you had to follow Loria and you had to follow Elsie, who both did these like, yeah, I'm just like, wow. And I was impressed. They did a really good job on the awards. Matter of fact, you got your trophy there. Is it sitting anywhere close?
Actually, I don't have it right here with me. No, I
Oh,
don't.
yeah,
So it's actually
you'll have to have
still in its little box. Yeah.
You have to have it out next show so we can show it to the audience. It's beautiful. That hunk of it almost feels like a hunk of metal, but it isn't. It's a solid glass crystal something. It's heavy.
Oh, it certainly weighs as much as a hunk of metal. That's for
That's
sure.
right, right.
It's
It's
yeah.
I told you it was gonna be heavy, didn't I?
Oh yeah,
And so,
definitely.
but it was I think the awards went a little long. They started a little late. Um,
Mm.
but other than that, it's a great event. I think this year as a vendor, in years past, we had encouraged the podcast movement team to try to keep us central. Basically be in the walkways or in the hallways or in a Centorium or some place where we could
Mhm.
get maximize foot traffic. And the show has grown, and I think they had about 30 vendors. They've got to the point where they can't do that anymore. So we were in a more traditional trade show floor area,
Mhm.
and so you could definitely tell when sessions were in and out because the traffic levels, came on then went away, came on then went away, came on then went
Yeah,
away.
exactly. Yeah, and I did talk to Dan about that, and he told me that they wanted to keep all of the exhibitors right with all the meeting rooms too, but I guess it was in different venues or different cities they have different rules around that stuff, and it depends on what the facility is designed like.
Right.
Um, the fire marshal won't let them put it in the hallway in some facilities, I guess. So it's one of those things that they got to a certain size. The event and the venue was at a certain size that they couldn't do that anymore. So that's why they had to stuff us away into that big room, but
Yeah.
kind of off away from the session where everybody hangs out, because it would have been ideal to have everybody
Oh my gosh.
right in that big room, right where
Yeah.
everybody comes out of the meeting
Because that's where
rooms and
everybody was hanging.
congregates.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was, that was where 90% of the people were hanging out and having conversations, and as you would expect. So, I think
Yeah.
the key to that is, and and we have to take it upon ourselves too, is that in the afternoon, if we want to bring traffic into the room, we need to set up uh, some sort of sponsor a beer, some beer or something. Have some refreshments where it gives people where people know they can come and hang out, and get a cocktail and chit chat in your area. Or they could have brought like the evening party into the trade show area. And I know they traditionally that doesn't happen, but it really what it does is it continues to pull the traffic um, into the trade show floor area. We stayed busy, so I'm not
Oh yeah,
complaining. We stayed busy and talked to a lot of people, but I know there's a lot of people that we missed because some people said we didn't even know you were there, and I'm like, did you go into the trade show area? And they were like, well, I didn't even walk in there, and I was like, well, that's where we were at. So I
yeah.
that struck me as kind of funny, but that was only
Well,
one
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 thing I
comment of
didn't
many.
see, yeah, that I could give some feedback to Dan and team was I didn't see references to the exhibition area in their schedule on the website. I don't know if you saw it in there or not. I didn't see much mention of it in there around its start time or it's even being active in there as part of their schedule. So that would be one little feedback too. I couldn't find actually on the website what the hours were in relation to like
Yeah.
all of the sessions and things like that.
That led to some
Um,
confusion with even me because all of a sudden one afternoon they were shutting down and I'm like, why are you shutting down? Sessions just let out and
yeah,
we're busy and the trade show floor was closing and I was really confused. There someone was shutting doors and I went over and opened them up not knowing
yeah,
not knowing that they were trying to close. And
yeah,
we were five deep then, so and they were blinking the lights. I'm like, oh, I guess we're closed, and I was a little confused on my part too. So yeah, I think that if they just publish the hours, that'll clear that up. And it is what it is. When they publish the hours, it's the published hours.
yeah. Exactly. It's really, and they did kind of shut down the exhibition at one point, and I think there was some sort of event going on where
Right.
everybody was supposed to be at. So
It was
I can't remember what
it
it
was the
was, but
actual exhibitor slash speaker event that was held right in the exhibition area. Yeah. So
oh, that's right, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep,
But
I remember now.
it's just it. Uh, I'm not going to give the guys a hard time. They did a great job. They're a small team. They
Yeah.
pulled they they
Oh
did.
yeah.
It's, I think they had. I can't remember what he told me. Dan told me on how many they had registered. Maybe 1,700 registered, something around there, and then like any other event, like maybe 80% shows up. But I would say there was. I don't know what their total head count was, but it looked based on the rooms being full and they're running 8 tracks and then some big rooms too. There was easy 12, 1,300. I don't know what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah,
Eh,
I think so too. I also think there was a fair amount of traffic that was coming through that wasn't registered
a
too.
lot. Yeah, I saw a lot of people with no badges.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was okay. They were coming through and talking and wanting, and I'm good with that. Hall pass. You know, so hey Dan, next year do a $20 hall pass and you'll pick up a couple $1,000.
Yeah, but
You know,
then you're going to have to kind of filter people in different sections. I know that's what CES does and some of the bigger trade shows that they have like security people that
well they have people.
look at their
Yeah,
badges.
you have to check the badges. They go into the room, make sure they have the right kind of badge. Yeah,
Yeah,
but there was a lot of
definitely.
foot traffic.
Yeah, definitely.
Families coming through in bikinis too, so that was kind of interesting. I saw a couple of those. People had been at the pool.
Well, and also one thing that was a little bit different about this year's event too was the involvement of kind of radio people because of the Jacobs Media folks doing a whole track.
Yeah,
I don't know, did you
I,
sense any kind of big difference in the attendee kind of composition from that?
not at the booth. I didn't have this year, unlike previous years. I had almost no radio traffic at the booth whatsoever. Maybe a couple. I had very little radio traffic whatsoever. So as far as them coming and seeing me, no. And I didn't go to any of those sessions, so I don't know what the head count was in those rooms. Did you look in there at all?
I didn't get a chance to really make it to too many sessions at all. That
Okay.
that was the reality for me.
Yeah, well,
Um,
same thing. But
I went to a couple, but yeah.
you did you go to any of the actual Jacobs Media Track sessions? Did you go to any of those?
No, I did not actually make it into any of those.
Yeah, me neither. Now, one thing I know is that there was a lot of meetings going on in suites in the hotel. There was lot of meetings happening, sidebar stuff. There was media buyers there, um, the Gimlets, the Panaples, those types of folks. They were all doing little side meetings, and I had to laugh because I saw Leo on not the awards night, the next night, so whatever night that was. I saw Leo Laporte in the hallway, and I walked up and said
Yeah, I
hi
think he
to
was
him.
there like on Tuesday or Wednesday,
Yeah,
or
whatever.
Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, whatever day.
Yeah.
It wasn't the awards night, but walked up and said hi and said, "Hey, we're gonna be out at the bar and come out and talk." And well, actually, saw him at the reception. Talked to him
Hmm.
for probably 45 minutes at the reception, and then they were, I don't know, it was, everything happens at the bar. We were holding court there for
Yeah.
a while, scheming how to take over the world. The he was kind of like, people didn't even know who he was. So that tells you how the space is. Because I said to someone, "Who is that?" I said, "That's Leo Laporte." He said, "What's he do?" you know, and being a tech guy, I'm kind of like, he runs Twit, and I'm like, you don't know who he is? No, no, I have no idea who he is. So there's definitely some generational gap stuff happening, which is great. But
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question because do people consider Leo to be a podcaster? And I would say, yeah, they
I
should,
would
but
think so.
they may not have they may not have heard of him because he doesn't really put himself out there as a podcaster too much. So it's an interesting. I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame, podcaster Hall of Fame. So I would say he's a podcaster. What do you think?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Reading the chat room, Gary said there was over 1,000, and Leo Laporte came through. Yes, of course. Leo said thought it was fantastic. He was very. Rob, be honest with you, maybe he is. I will say that I've had some run-ins with Leo before that weren't super pleasant, and but
Yeah.
he was really cordial. I
Yes, he
mean,
was.
very cordial and very nice. And Lisa was there. You know, I
Well,
had
she's great too. So
I had a good interaction with him at this show, and I was, it was nice to sit down and talk. We found, we're talking about each other's businesses and what's going on, and kind of getting a sense of what may be coming for the future for Twit. And
yeah,
so, Leo is getting a little older, and I think he's looking for the future, what he's going to do for the future. So, interesting. It was interesting talk for sure.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he's got a very successful kind of media property going, and I think he is thinking about those things. I know his wife Lisa is thinking a lot about what the future looks like for what they're doing and how they need to evolve, and um, it sounds like he's got some great plans. Like I can tell he's really focused on video, which was a little bit surprising, but I think it's certainly something that he knows and they do a terrific job of. Um, so we'll see what's next for Leo. I hope he has a lot of success.
I think there's an
He was.
opportunity for some up and
Yeah.
comers. If you can break out, I think there's some
Hmm.
opportunity for some folks that do that type of content. If you can be the guy that is gets a breakout show, you know,
Hmm.
and can get aligned over there, I think there's some opportunity over there. But for some people that create content, but you have to be able to break out. and engage because it's Leo's does a lot of shows over there. He carries a lot of the programming load, so
Yeah.
he works.
Hey, Todd, did you hear that Jim Latterbach is now the CEO of VidCon?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. So
Yeah.
that was just announced. What do you make of that? And most folks here maybe don't know who Jim is, so maybe you ought to tell who Jim is.
Well, Jim has a long history in the podcasting space too. He ran a kind of a video podcasting platform for many years called Revision 3 that was sold to Discovery Channel. So he's been a real advocate. I mean, he's really more on the video podcasting side for many, many years, and then kind of shifted over. I mean, he sold to the Discovery Channel, and really kind of that whole transition. And really, I think they really transitioned over to a lot of YouTube stuff. So he got involved in the whole video side with VidCon, which is a big kind of conference, trade show, type of event focused on the online video space. And so, and one of the reasons that I'm bringing this up is because one of the other events that Hank Green, which is the actual founder of VidCon, is putting together is a new conference up here in Seattle, of all places, called PodCon. So it sounds like that Jim may be the CEO of PodCon.
Well,
So yeah,
and Jim's got Jim is a guy that creates content too. He's in the weeds. He's doing interviews. He goes to trade shows. He does some of the
oh
kind
yeah,
of the same things we do for CES.
yep,
And he's again, we talked about this, but he's one of the few folks that are in this media space that actually understands what it takes to get content done too. So
yep.
this is a good move on their part. So yeah, lots of things happening, lots of movement.
Oh
So
yeah, lots of kind of conferences and podcasting related events coming up too in the next 60 days. So
yep.
I don't know. Are you planning on going to many of them, Todd?
We're,
Because I'm not really scheduled to go to many of them right
yeah,
now.
we're going to go to FinCon. I don't know if I'm going yet. I don't know what my schedule's going to allow.
Yeah.
But we're going to have at least one person at FinCon. Probably I'll have one person there, and they'll be 20 deep, and we should have sent five. But you just never know when you're trying to budget for something. And then we're going to go to PodCon in December. But I'm not going to Mid Atlantic at this point. We sent them some microphones or something. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I'm not going either, but Francesco's going to go. So because he's like right there.
and it's like for Mid Atlantic, if I can't come in and speak, um, and actually do a session and contribute, it's for a small event, and it's not I don't know how many people they're going to have there, a couple hundred people. It
Yeah, it'll be probably 250, 300 people probably.
Yeah, so for me to fly 10 hours and not have just show up to stand at a booth, that's cool too, but I just got to look at resources, and if I'm going to go and speak and put a session on, and then it's more worth it to me. Otherwise, and I'm not saying I'm not going to an event if I don't speak, but it's a big part of these events, going to these events, and Mid Atlantic has some kind of. We've never figured you have to go 1 year and do a 2-minute stand up or something, and then next year you can do a full set. I don't know how they have figured this out, but they've got
Yeah, I
some.
went last year and I moderated his state of podcasting session that he had. Dave Dave Jackson was on the panel, and so it was I mean, it was a good session. It's a single day kind of
Yep, yep, single day event.
linear track. There's no multiple tracks or anything
Yep.
like that. So you sit down and you see everything all in one day. So it's actually a good format. I actually like that format where you don't have like
Mul-
8 different tracks going on
no,
at the same time and
it's a
stuff.
it's a
Yeah.
single track type of show. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Let's see, and there's a few other things too going on. There's some pod events. But let's see. So Mid Atlantic is actually wow. It's going on. Is it today? No, it's in September.
September 8th,
Oh, yeah. So it's next weekend. Uh,
next Friday.
yeah. And then there's a new media summit that's happening the 22nd through the 24th. I don't know too much about that.
Hmm.
That event. Let's let's hear what's going on.
And
Go ahead.
now, now here, this is happening next Friday as well,
Yeah, that's
which is
the East Coast
the
bubble
the
people.
mid roll.
Y-
It's the mid roll thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like too much well, they missed the FinCon event in October in the calendar. I'm looking at Pod to Pod and their event calendar. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff happening. So Rob, the moment of truth is here. Um,
I was putting it off as long as I could.
you were
No, just
okay.
kidding.
So for those of you that didn't know, congratulations, by the way. The folks at Spreaker and the folks at Blog Talk Radio have decided to merge. And of
Yeah.
course, an announcement was made, but nary on very much detail. And what was funny is everyone asked me at the show, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think of this? What do you think? What are they going to do? What do you think?" I mean, I must have been asked 100 times. What do you think about that? What?
Yes.
And I kept
Well, you can
saying,
imagine what I was asked.
well,
I
of
was asked by
course.
everybody.
So
Yeah.
I was like, I'll be honest with you. From what little discussion I had with Francesco and Rob, I said I think they're trying to figure out what they're going to do and how it's going to look. And I think they got to, probably over the next year, figure that out. I said I don't know. And to me,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, to me, as I was thinking about this announcement, I'm thinking you both have live platforms. You both
Yep.
have, and you're almost like the same product. So to me, it was I said, okay, combining forces to do the same thing. I guess it's smart. I don't know. I still haven't quite figured out your guys' goal here, but in a way, maybe kind of do. So, Rob, what's the scuttlebutt? What can you say about this merger?
Well, I would say it. I mean, really at the top, just to kind of clarify on what we've just been saying, and one of the reasons why you've gotten that impression is because when we announced this, it was really kind of it was a little early to announce it in some ways because not all the details have been worked out, and so we're still going through the process of figuring out what the right thing to do is from a technology stack perspective, from a personnel perspective. I mean, this really, if you look at it from the highest level view, this announcement was really made because of podcast movement, and it was a great time to announce it. It maybe was a little early to announce it, but it was a good time to announce it to reach as many people as possible about this. I mean, it's not like it's not happening or anything. It's definitely happening. It's just a little early, right? So I would say that the plan is really to just merge these two companies together, because if you get once you get beyond kind of the surface layer of what you see between these two companies, both these companies are very compatible with each other because they have strengths and weaknesses that are complementary to each other. So what's strong about Blog Talk Radio is one of the weaknesses of Spreaker. Some of the weaknesses of Spreaker is complemented by Blog Talk Radio. So we have this really, if you look at two ends of the spectrum of a platform, uh, Spreaker has great creation, recording, live streaming, mobile apps, all this stuff that are very advanced, very developed. We've put a lot of focus on it. And if you look at the other end of the platform spectrum, the monetization engines, the dynamic ad insertion, the technology to monetize, is what's weak in Spreaker. So, and Blog Talk Radio is weak in mobile and weak in creation tools and all those types of things too. So when you slide these two companies together, they actually fit together almost like a perfect jigsaw puzzle that has the pieces cut out. They just fit right together,
Well,
and it basically doubles the team.
if
So
if if you
Yep.
can get the tech merged.
Well,
you know,
yeah, exactly, and
you know.
that's one of the things that we're still working on, right? Is because they were built on a different technology
Ooh,
stack
ouch.
on each side, so it is a little bit more of a challenge around integration. So we're trying to pull together two different technology teams and two different technology snacks, and we're going to figure out what we're going to keep and what we're going to throw away.
It's
It's really as simple as that.
so here's the thing you got to kill. Okay.
This is what everybody's been telling me.
This
So you're not the only one. I
this is
because I know what it is.
this is
Go
what
ahead.
this is what you got to kill. That stupid. This is Blog Talk Radio. Oh my God, kill me now. Please get rid of that thing. So that needs to go away.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, and yeah, I was teasing you and Podvader in the hallway. I'm like, so Podvader, are you working for Rob, or Rob, do you work for Podvader, or which one of you gets a pink slip? I was teasing, obviously.
Well,
And,
actually, that's been kind of decided. So
oh, okay.
so I don't know if you have heard, but yeah. So I'm in a new role in the company now.
Oh, you
So
are. So what is your new role?
yeah, I'm going to be the head of partnerships for the
Oh,
company.
you're
So
so screwed,
and
Rob.
then
Head of
I
partnerships.
know
You are in. Does that okay? Head of partnerships. That's okay. So that that
it's a biz dev
okay.
slash working with podcasters, working
Okay.
with
Okay.
everything. All right.
So what
I,
is what's
it's
pod
basically a bucket term
uh,
for
jack of all trades?
whatever needs to get done. Right. I mean, if I need to break out a broom, that's what I have to do. Right. So
So what's Podvader gonna do then? What's his official position?
he's he's going to be the head of content.
A head of content. Okay. And I had to tease Rob during the podcast awards too, because this guy has on his resume, Rob has worked for everyone. So this merger, and the reason he would start working at Spreaker was so he could pad his resume one more time, and also having worked for Blog Talk Radio. So you know, it's just too funny.
I mean, it seems like it's it's really weird that I work for Blog Talk Radio.
It
Actually,
is really weird. It is, because I think we
yeah.
could go back in history and look at some discussions we had about them in the past, well, maybe we shouldn't dig up those discussions, but, um,
Well, those are a long time ago in the
oh
archives.
yeah, 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 yeah. Go ahead,
Plus, I also have
tap dance some more.
yeah, I also have yeah, I also have another little bit of a connection there too. I used to work with Chris Smith at Podcast One, and Chris Smith is one of the architects of the original Blog Talk
Are
Radio
you
platform.
serious?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That is really funny. Oh my
So
God, it's just
yeah,
like this
and
intermixing
Chris,
pool of genes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And Chris is he was actually speaking at this event. I was amazed
I, d- I,
that
d-
he actually
I don't know if I
was on
run.
a panel
I
this
don't know
year.
if I run into Chris or not. I don't know if Chris is real happy. Yeah,
You
I
know,
think I did. I did run into Chris, and he stopped by the booth and said hi. And
yeah, he's
yeah,
doing amazing stuff. He's running all the podcasting for CNN,
yeah.
Turner, Turner Broadcasting. He's actually doing all the platform hosting and monetization
A-
for the NBA.
Actually,
Um,
with my
so
dust up with CNN, I'm surprised Chris even said hi. But
he doesn't care about that.
I know.
You do. You care about
Oh,
it,
I
but
don't care. I didn't.
I
And Chris is a good guy, so and CNN's were the
yeah.
assholes. So
But all this, I mean, all these platforms, especially when you
excuse my French, by
look.
the way. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, right. I mean, everybody knows each other. That's the thing. I mean, I've been around this space for so long. I've spoken to the leadership at Block Talk Radio many times, and had connections with them over many years. And they've been around a very long time. They actually started in, I think it was 2006. So they've been around a long time back. I mean, I sold a domain name back in the early days of this medium called audio blogs.
Oh,
And
that's
so
funny.
and to a company, I sold it for $5,000 back
Yeah.
in the early
You
2000s.
didn't send it. You didn't
Because
sell it for high enough.
I,
But
as it turns out, I feel like I, I got a
a good return.
gold mine out of it.
Oh,
Yeah, because if you think about its value now, it
yeah.
doesn't have any value.
So
Um,
for those of you that weren't in the podcast movement, it was a fun dynamic to watch because you all of a sudden you seen this group up, and these guys were thick as thieves. The Blog Talk Radio and the Spreaker folks were all huddled together. You could see these minds. Of course, they're looking around as people walked up. The conversation changes because they're strategizing during the show how this merger, and they're working the merger details out at the show. You'd walk up and they'd look at you kind of like, you're bothering us. Don't come to the circle here, right? And then you would walk away and they'd be able
we
to,
can't talk.
yeah. And Francesco was real. I think he was really nervous about, because he knows you and I, are here every weekend. And I'll be honest with you, Rob, you guys, I wish you luck on this, but you're going to be bogged down for like the next year and trying to figure this out and trying to
Yeah,
balance.
but our team is double the size now, Todd.
Oh,
We can get more done.
uh-huh. I know how that works. So let's just, you guys are going to be bogged down in mergers. So all the other podcast owners that are listening out there, while they're trying to figure this out, therein lays an opportunity.
Todd is like a snake in the grass that's ready to.
No. No, you guys are in a space I'm not involved in the live stuff. So, but good on you. It's going to be fun to watch how you figure this out. And, the real trick, you've got the easy job now, because if you're just doing partnerships, you're not going to have to do it the day-to-day do with the podcasters. So Podvader has to navigate this merger of Blog Talk Radio podcasters and Spreaker, and figuring out how to do this without pissing both groups off. You
Yeah.
you guys got your work ahead.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, just because I'm in a new role doesn't mean magically I'm going to disappear from the
Oh,
space.
I know, I know, I know, I know.
You know, I'm
You're
I'm still going to be doing my speaker live show. I'm still going to be going to conferences. I'm still going to be
I think
speaking, and
I
I'm
think
still
you
going to be out there.
I
So
Podvader, I know you're listening. I think Rob got the better of the two titles though. And here's why. Is because you're going to have more of an external vendor. You're going to do a lot more vendor. You're going to get a lot more external vendor exposure, which, down the road, if you ever decide you want to go do another job, you'll have all these relationships. So I'm not saying you're leaving Spreaker anytime soon, but, um, you know, mm,
Todd,
yes,
Todd,
I'm.
I've always had those relationships. There's nothing new going on here.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
I mean, I mean, you and I have been around this space for so long. We know where all the bodies are buried, and we
Oh
know
my God.
everybody in every part of this, this business really at some point.
Yeah,
But there are a lot of new people coming into this
yeah,
medium
yeah,
too. So it's gonna, it's gonna kick my ass to try and get
yeah.
connected up with all these people.
And
So that's the other thing.
I even find
Yeah.
myself falling behind too. So it's because
Yeah.
there is so many new people. But I'll be honest with you, it's talking about where all the bodies are buried. You know, where the conferences are fantastic. The meeting the podcasters and meeting new folks. And this year there wasn't as many new podcasters as there was a lot of established shows. So there was some horse trading going on between all the vendors, and we're trying to compete with each other. But really, the most fascinating conversations happen in the bar after a few beers. Now, so what happens in Vegas stays in
Are
Vegas.
you
So
talking about Thursday? Are you talking about Thursday night at the bar in Anaheim?
I'm not talking about it. We won't say anything. But Hair of the Dog Friday
Okay.
morning was a little rough. Um, but
Yeah.
the conversations that happen at the tables. Now there was like a couple of interlopers, and we love you. You're free, and I shouldn't say interlopers. That's the wrong word to say. They ended up at the right table at the right time, and if they had really listened, they could have come out with like 10 scoops. If they'd really
Oh
been
yeah.
listening to the conversations going back and forth, they could have been like, "Oh, let me write that down." And matter of fact, I said to one guy that was sitting at the table, I said, "Be careful with this information." Because there was some stuff being said and people talking, and we're all friends and having a good time, and but I came back to my team and I said, listen, this, and this we need to be paying attention to. And, a lot of that comes from the conversations that we have with our friends and people that are in the business. And, someone says something and your earball, your ear, and I say earball, I use that as your earball snaps and you're like, did I just register that correctly? And then you put that a little away and then 2 days later, someone else says something that maybe is associated. It's really it's a great. Matter of fact, if I was Apple, I would not, or Google, or if I was a big Fortune 500 company, I'd be like, you can go to the trade show, but no bar activity afterwards.
Because somebody's gonna have a tape recorder.
Or someone's gonna say
You know.
something, and you're like, huh, okay. But it was all good and all fun, and we're all friends, and what we say stays between ourselves, and we don't want to break any confidences and anything's being told. But the real action at the trade shows are definitely at the bar and in hallways
Yeah.
and strategically
I
a
would
lot.
say that was the case on Thursday night. I would
Oh
say,
yeah.
I was thinking about it afterwards. Who was there
Mhm.
and who was talking at various times
Mhm.
at the bar that night.
And I
And
keep
it
drop and I
it
drop.
was a lot of
I call it
yeah.
fertilizing. I'm throwing fertilizer out there and maybe a few seeds and hope something takes. And
Yeah. I mean, from the guys from Apple sitting around
yep,
to the guys from
yep,
people from Google were hanging out,
yeah,
people from Art 19. Sean came by and said hi, and was able to talk. He's the CEO of Art
yeah,
19. Came
yeah,
by, and
yeah,
there's just a lot of folks that you don't necessarily get to see very often.
yeah.
Came by. Yeah.
And you make comments like, when you're tired of working over there, call me first. You may just drop those little dimes like that. You just drop those out there, put them out there to ferment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the Apple discussion was probably, here's how it goes down. The party's almost over, and this was Tuesday night. What night was it?
I don't know
It was before. It was the
what.
pre-party, whatever night it was. It,
Oh yeah.
the
Well, it was. Yeah.
the
Yeah. It was Tuesday.
Tuesday, the
Yeah.
tune-in party was wrapping up. I mean, there was
Yep.
just it was
Yep.
it was the Robs, Rob Greenlee, Rob Walsh, Todd. We had, who else was in just hanging? We were just kind of all hanging out in the back of the room, jibber jabbering. And there was 4 or 5. Daniel J. Lewis was there. Just we're all hanging out, just chatting. And in rolls the Apple team, and
Yep.
it's 11 o'clock. I'm thinking about going to bed, right?
And there was like 5 people from Apple,
Yeah, and
right?
you're like,
Yeah.
so then you're like, then it's like, now it's time for the Spanish Inquisition. Now it's time to get the details. So each one of us, ask little pointed questions. And you can see the Apple guy squirm a little bit when he can't say anything.
Yeah.
So then
Well,
he does,
he's very, very crafty at working around those questions.
and then and
He's
then
very
you
good at it.
you revise your question, and I think Rob Walsh did a question. So do I need to tell my developers that they need to be available the day after Thanksgiving, or should we be ready to do something before So Rob's asking like these, like, kind of like, like, don't tell me the date, but tell me how I should have my people ready to,
Yeah.
work on certain things. And I think what we deduced, and they never said a date.
No.
they, they never
By
get.
the end of the year, I think was the comment, right?
By the end of the
Yeah.
year, the key word is by the end of the year, and so
Not before Christmas. Not before
not
Christmas.
before
Not
Christmas, or
not
no,
just after
no,
Christmas.
not after Christmas, right? So here's what we have deduced, that the analytics are going to drop somewhere after Thanksgiving before Christmas and
Yeah.
somewhere in between. Okay, so leave it at that. And and the API for like folks like us that can integrate to be able you to authorize to pull data back into our stat system will come later. So that means 18. So initially,
Just the fact that he said that may be coming that's big news right
that's
there.
big
So
news. Yeah, that and you know and they didn't say yes, it's coming. He just said, we'll look at that later. But the
correct.
the fact that they said we'll look at it later. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of and Daniel was asking some pointed questions. He'll have some stuff on his show that some stuff that he learned that's important. Um, but
Well, one question that I asked, I can probably mention it here because I didn't really get a definitive answer, was as many know, they're going to rebrand iTunes, and so they're actually eliminating the iTunes brand and going to just podcasts app or whatever. I'm not quite sure what that means for the iTunes software on Windows. Um, Todd, did you get an answer from those
no,
folks on that?
no, I
Yeah.
didn't. But it just the price of coming to podcast movement, the ticket, and the hotel cost, and my booth cost, and that 2 hour, because I didn't go to bed till 1:23. That's what time, because I'm ready to go to bed at 11. We stood there and talked with them for 2 hours. Um,
Yeah.
you know that
After most people had left,
Yeah, everyone had
right?
left. So
They were still there.
so people, when you go to these events, don't go to bed early. The people sneak in, and
Yeah.
they actually had arrived late. They would have been there early.
Yeah.
And but most people don't know who they are. So unless you know who these folks are, someone walks around like, oh, that's so and so with Apple. Who's these
Yeah, it's
four?
not like they're wearing a sign on their chest saying Apple
No.
necessarily.
And they hide their name tag
Yeah.
oftentimes, flip it around, and you won't see their name or Apple below it. And then, so the other four other folks that came with them, you're like, I know that person and that person, but who are these other three? What do you do?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
is
exactly.
your job? And
Yeah.
just very specifically, what is your job at Apple? And can I have your card, please? And
Yeah.
so five. You get five names out of that, and two people I'd never known, one new person on the team. But that was
Well,
one
there's an
conversation.
entirely new person
Mm,
that's running the
right.
US kind of features and
Yep.
the editorial team.
Yep.
The guy that had been running it has
Hmm.
now moved over to marketing.
Yep.
So
And there was
so
a
yeah,
and there was a
that was a
techie.
big change right
There's a
there.
there was a
Yeah.
techie guy, one of the guys that's involved in the dev. I
Yeah.
mean, he is the dude. He is the dude that tells the
He's
programmers
worked
this is
for it.
what we're implementing. So
Yeah. Years ago, I did the same thing when I was working for Microsoft. I would bring some of the engineers and the program managers to the conferences so
right.
they could actually talk to real people in the industry and talk to podcasters and learn about what's important. And it's important for those guys to be at those events too.
Yep.
And and Google was there in force
Oh,
too.
they were. And
Most people didn't realize that.
the
Most
guy.
people didn't realize that.
So
Yeah.
I always take when someone walks up the booth and you don't know them, I always take a moment to look at their name tag. And oftentimes, again, the name tag's turned over and you can't see who they are. So I'm kind of like, I just kind of casually reach up and turn the name tag over. I'm kidding. I almost, I get in their space a little bit and turn it over and look, and I'm like, oh, hi, such and such for Google. How are you? He wasn't going to tell me he was from Google. I had to figure it out. And
Yeah.
and then it's like my attention becomes laser focused when the Google guy comes or gal.
Well, I got actually pulled after one of my panels. Actually, after
Oh, come and grabbed you.
my geolocal panel,
Yeah,
a person from Google came up and said, "Can we talk?" And we walked over and sat down for like a half an hour
yeah. So I
and
and for me it
and
was
talked.
for
So, and they're
me,
actually based out of Seattle too.
yeah.
Actually, they're based out of Seattle.
And this is
So
their Well, I like to call them their skunkworks team, but I basically,
Well, that's what they told us. That's what they
yeah,
told us. I
yeah,
don't. It's hard to say what's really going
yeah.
on. So,
And I had so, but I immediately figured out who this is, and I'm like, I want to get him a little away from the booth, and have a little
yeah.
conversation, and that's so Google, Rob, they are something's coming, something big's coming from Google. They
Well, or
they
they're doing some research because most of the guys that were there were software folks.
right.
So they were actual developers, which means, of course, that's not unusual for Google to send out their program managers and developers out to go out and figure out something.
And I
It's not
looked
unusual.
these guys up on LinkedIn and looked at what projects they've worked on, and I'm going, hmm.
Yeah.
So, do you have? Well, first of all, Rob, do you have concerns?
No, I'm I'm thinking this is a huge opportunity. I mean, if we can get these guys thinking in the appropriate way um, as much as possible, but at the end of the day, these guys need to get something out of it too. Um, and it's not, we can't necessarily expect Google if they're going to play in this space and play aggressively, they're going to need to get something out of it. Else they're not going to do it.
Oh, so there eludes the $64,000 question. Well, what are they going to get out of it? I'll let you
Uh,
say it.
well, let's just think about who they are
Mm-hmm.
and what they do, what they're known for, what their expertise is to some degree, and um, and what they could extract out of this space. Um,
Well, I don't like the word extract, but yeah, go ahead.
I, th- I think they're in a position to take a chunk of meat out of us. So um, I don't know that they're going to come into this space and just do like what Apple did. I don't. That's not their DNA. So for us to expect that they're just going to come in and they have a different business model than
They
Apple
have to
has.
make money.
Correct, and they have to make money on advertising because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So what that looks like is the question, right? And if they're going to get all in on this, what does that have to look like? Um, they need help on that. They need help on shepherding that so it doesn't break things. There's a lot of other players in this space that are getting involved in this medium, and their plans are breaking things. So as we both know,
Yep. And I don't even know if I should say this. I guess I will. They said the question I was asked, they made the hair on my neck stand up. They says, what happens if we come in and host media? And I'm like, do you mean pull it in and re-encode it like you're doing now on Google Play? And I said, if that's the case, that you don't hurt me. Does that mean if you come in and offer free podcast hosting? I said a number of these companies won't be here if you do that. And again, though, I don't know because that's going to come at a price. So it's going to be like YouTube. You upload your media to Google, they're going to slap a pre-roll on it. They're going to monetize it to pay for it. And will you get a revenue share? Yeah, but look what YouTube guys get, pennies on the dollar. So,
yeah,
is
I mean, I think that there's definitely I think looking at putting my big company hat on, working for Microsoft, um, I I don't see them doing what your fear is. Um,
it, it's it's
Probably for
it's
the
a re,
biggest
it's
reason.
it's a remote possibility.
Well, I would agree. Anything's possible here. They certainly have the resources to do anything that they want to, but they do not have a history of external distribution. So of anything. So them putting a podcast hosting program together and
Well,
making
it would
public RSS feeds on a hosting plan like we do, I think it's highly unlikely.
well it, it'll look different. It'll be YouTube, but PodTube. you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that is certainly a possibility. I agree with you. That is definitely a possibility, but it's going to be a distribution that would be only to their their platform, right? It wouldn't. I don't see Google putting up making the possibility of distributing content to Apple,
Mm,
if that makes sense, right?
mm,
Just because that doesn't fit with what they do. Look at YouTube. They don't
mm-hmm.
just they could distribute that content to an app that's in iOS,
Right.
but it would be like a PodTube or something app.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be a it wouldn't be a public RSS feed coming out of Google going into Apple. I just don't see that.
And
That doesn't fit what they would do.
podtube.com is not available as a domain name. So,
I don't just just making it up.
um,
So and we've been hearing rumors about Google getting into podcasting with YouTube for a while now.
yeah.
So I don't, it's hard to say what that looks like, and this could be related to that, but it's all speculation. We have no idea.
Well, I was pretty
Um,
explicit with him. I
I
basically
was too.
I told him, I said, you're getting your butt kicked. Here's why. And I pulled out my little spreadsheet that I gave you for our presentation. I says, this is where you are at in global market share. I said, this is where you're
Mhm.
at right here. I say, see how close you are to the bottom of the list? This is where you're at. This is where Google Play is. Crickets, crickets,
Yeah,
crickets.
way the hell down
You
there.
know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And this is what I told him. I says, you need a native podcast app that will be mandatory to be installed by the OEMs. It needs to be like Gmail. It needs to be like the search. It needs to be like Docs. It needs to be a mandatory distribution. And I think Rob Walsh told him, says, why don't you buy Pocket Cast or one of those good apps and
Yeah.
respin it and make it the Google app. And I didn't tell him to buy
Yeah.
anyone. I told him you need I don't care how they get there. You need a native podcast app that is mandatory. And the key here is it has to be mandatory to be distributed to OEMs. Like, Apple, they decide what's mandatory. Google has a small core of apps that are mandatory to be part of the Android distribution system. If they don't make that a mandatory distribution, they it's will help us a bit.
Yeah.
And they need a place for podcasters to go, for our listeners to go for discovery. So they need a iTunes something equivalent. So what are they good at? They're good at doing this. They've built YouTube. So what if you have the YouTube team
Yep.
build a podcast site?
Yeah.
Let's put it in the book. That's what I predict they're going to do. But it will
Yeah, it'll
be,
be something similar to that. I agree
yeah,
with you. I think it'll be, yeah.
and they are going to monetize it. You will have to. Well,
Yep.
maybe you won't, but I almost guarantee you there will be ads baked in as pre-rolls on your content or banners or digital put over the top on the website. But we also know that most of the consumption is not happening on a website. Most of the consumption is happening in the mobile app.
Mobile. Yep.
So
So I want to be clear, we're not basing this observation on any insider knowledge,
no,
or
no, no,
have been told anything from anybody
no.
on what their intentions are.
But
So this is not a leak.
but this is
This is just our
this is
speculation.
based on
Yeah.
speculation from the questions that they were asking us and the
Yeah.
feedback we were providing them.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't really know. We're just surmising based on what we've seen and what we see as, the possibilities that could happen here. Yeah.
And
So I think there's going to be more contact. The Google team is going to have more contact with me, and
yep.
they'll probably have more contact with you too, I would imagine.
And I basically told them, said, listen, I'm happy to come in and sign an NDA, give you guys feedback, and we won't leak like, the leak that happened at Apple. As a matter of fact, we were joking with the Apple team about that. We'll be happy to come in and give you, I'm not going to tell them what to do, but I'm just going to give them feedback. Well, I guess I am going to tell them what to do. But
you can't help that.
no, but I think I think they have, I really got the opinion that someone over there has said, "What is going on? Fix this." That's the impression I got. They how many? I think they had four. Did they have five people there? How many people did they have there?
I don't know. I didn't actually meet them all. I just came across one, and
I ran into two, but I heard different names from some other people. So they had two, three, maybe as many as four
yeah, I
there.
have a card right here from one person, and it's in the title is software engineer. So
The guy that
that
here the guy that
that little bit of news tells me that they're probably not going to acquire anything.
the guy that talked to me. Why would they acquire? The guy that talked to
Yeah,
me, he basically told me his um what division he worked at, and it was essentially their. And at least that's what he said. Their skunk works. It's basically their R&D. Figure this out.
yeah,
So, okay. So what's the timeline?
yeah, and it's up here in Seattle is where they're located. Yeah.
So is this something that they're currently working on, or are they just spinning
hmm
up? My prediction is they're just spinning up. So maybe a year. I don't know.
They may have something in the works for a while now, and they're putting the finishing touches on
Do
it.
you think? I'm not that
It's
confident.
possible. It's possible.
It,
It's
it,
possible. I mean, if they had multiple people here, it's a pretty big team already.
mm, yeah. Well, that's yeah because they didn't bring the whole team. They brought the leads. So I guess we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what happens with Google. And I just broke the tablet out and here's. Matter of fact, I loaded up our. Hey, here's where you are. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And and I think this could be really, really big. It could be big for the space.
big, big, yeah, big. Is and
Yeah.
if they don't come in and destroy the space by because it's here's what's gonna this big shiny gold carrot. That's podcasters get excited about shiny things. So, but that's how we're gonna we'll keep you guys advised, and if they do launch something, then we need to talk about the ramifications of okay, you're going to have advertising baked in, or you're not going to be able to opt out. And for some people, the norms of the world, the podcast ones of the world, they're going to be like, whoa, 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 if they put advertising on top of advertising. So, will there be requirements that you don't have? We just don't know. It could be just
Yeah.
like
There
YouTube.
could be a couple different ways that they could go with this.
Yeah.
And have it not break the ecosystem. And I think that's I mean, if you speaking of that, you know, Spotify is one. They seem to have a renewed interest in this space right now.
Spotify, they just fired their dude.
I know, but I just did a call with them this week, so it
Hmm.
they seem to have an interest in the space more
Okay.
than ever. Actually,
So,
if you read the article that covered this guy leaving,
yep.
it says in there that there's renewed interest in this space. So right at the bottom of the article. So
So were
I
they
don't think that things are over with there. I think this guy left because he wasn't successful in getting a video proper play going
So
at
are they?
Spotify.
Do you think they're going to open the floodgates?
I don't I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Well,
But I think that there's going to be
then,
more openness,
well, okay.
more openness.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Then so what? If they don't open the floodgates, they don't allow every podcaster to be on there. They're proven 1 out of 100. And
yeah.
I tried to explain this
Well,
to a guy the other day. He's like, "I'm gonna be on Spotify." I'm like, "Do you understand? You're a brand new show. You can go over there and
yeah,
apply." I says, "But
yeah,
if you apply too early, you are probably going to get denied. It's
yeah,
better for you to wait a year before applying to Spotify and build some base, build some audience, because this is you get one shot, you know."
yeah.
And people are just like gaga stupid over Spotify. I'm good luck finding a podcast on Spotify. Just load the app and try to find a podcast.
Well,
it's
there hasn't exactly. I mean, Todd, as you know, there hasn't been a lot of success of podcasts and music service integration. I
yep,
mean, we've been talking about this topic, God, for how many years now?
yep.
And
I, I,
and there is yet to be an example of a successful integration.
until they figure in, okay, so look at, I'm just, let's just look at this from a fact-based standpoint. All right, let me go to my website and let me show you on. Well, let's just go new media show. Let's a little new media show site up. Let's use our podcast site. And what do we have on here? We've got Apple Podcast, subscribe on Android, Google Play, Stitcher. Do you see a Spotify link on my website?
No,
Absolutely not. Am I listed on Spotify? No. Is Spotify driving any traffic to my show? No. Am I going to talk about Spotify on this podcast besides talking about what they might do? No. Do podcasters on their
yeah.
regular?
Why would you, right?
Why
Yeah.
would I? Why would I give them any love? And why would any podcaster, the one out of 100 is going to say, "Hell, you can find me over on Spotify." All right. But
Todd, I agree with you. The single only reason that Spotify should support podcasts is the key reason that there's over 200,000 shows, 200,000 hosts that could
good.
drive close to what, a billion
Oh,
listeners to Spotify.
Rob,
Yeah,
Rob, 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 Rob. Say that again. You've got 200,000
100,000
active
show hosts,
that could be talking
right?
about Spotify every
Spotify.
episode. Spotify, Spotify, Spotify.
Yeah, yeah. That's
I, I, I,
that's
I,
that's
I don't have it.
marketing gold.
I
Is
don't
what it
have an
is.
MBA.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
I'm a podcaster. We have to have
yeah,
curated list. We have to have a limited experience to give our audience the best experience.
yeah. Right.
Uh, I'm okay. Whatever Spotify's going to do, well, come on. But if you continue to be picky, you're not going to get. Yeah, you get some big shows to talk about it, but that's the 1%.
Yeah, and you'll keep burning through your podcast managers too,
And
right?
people are going to be pissed. Podcasters are pissed. How come I didn't get on Spotify? He got on Spotify. How come I didn't? I hear that too. He's on there. How come I'm not? And by
Yep.
the way, there are multiple ways. Spotify does have an application you can fill out online right now. You don't have to be hosting at a specific provider to be considered to be on Spotify. Just people need to know that.
No.
But there is a dialogue by a certain company says I'm the only way into Spotify. Well, that's not true. So
Yeah. There's multiple pathways in.
yes,
Not that there's going to be, you're going to necessarily be
yeah,
successful through any of
you
those
can apply and
pathways,
you're like,
but
I think we have a
yeah,
better chance of having this show put on Spotify because we talk so much shit about them. There I go again. I'm sorry. Twice in one show. I gotta put my filter on. I'm sorry. Oh,
yeah,
we lost
yeah,
one of the listeners. He's mad at me.
yeah. There you go. One of those Spotify listeners.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I'm just okay. Let's stop talking about them. Again, they're not
Okay.
worthy of more than 2 minutes. Um, so we had Apple. We talked to Google. Any other surprise? Oh, media buyers. I talked
I did
to first time at Podcast Movement. I talked to media buyers. East Coast.
really.
Yep.
I didn't really get a chance to talk to any of them. So
East Coast media buyers from New York City were in the house, and we picked up 3 ad deals from that. Matter of fact, we sent out notices a couple days ago to our entire staff looking for specific shows. Some new advertisers that we've never, ever seen in the podcasting space. I'm really excited about one of them.
oh
Yeah, it's going to be a
wow,
really, really good,
new. I mean, totally new companies that you've never
totally,
seen before.
totally new companies. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
that's good.
that's good because
So are they brands or are they
it's
product?
it's DRs, DR buys.
DR. Okay.
Yeah, but stuff that they went because the guy told me this type of specific shows they were looking for, and I always hate that when they don't tell me the company's name, and so I basically got talked to the guy on the phone for about an hour, and on Friday, and we spieled him up and found out who the companies were, and I'm really really excited by two of them I'm really excited about, and but and some of them are kind of not niche, but self-help, and actually a company that's looking for conservative slash libertarian podcast. And so if you have a conservative libertarian podcast, I got inventory for you right now. Email me. Um, or self-help too.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of exciting. That's the first time we've talked to media buyers at Podcast Movement. So again, one discussion like that could lead the way to, we love the independent podcasters, but we go to these shows to sign deals, and that's the kind of attendees that pay for the show.
Yeah. No,
Did
it's
you get any other discussions you can talk about at the event without getting fired, Rob? Or
well, I think I don't know. Just more stuff about the merger between the two companies is just really interesting. The feedback that we got talking about the name of the company and kind of all these kind of corollary questions that fell out of it, and actually Francesco did it was like a 20-minute conversation with my co-host from the Spreaker live show. So
ah,
if you wanted, if those that are listening to this wanted to go over and listen to my last Wednesday's episode of the Spreaker live show, you can hear it directly from Francesco's mouth.
he is watching you on the show today. He is in the audience, so he's keeping track.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. So because he wants to hear what I'm going to say about stuff too. Um, but that's actually a great one to go listen to, because I mean, he's the one that put that deal together, and he has a much more kind of inside the game kind of view on it. And so I think he was pretty clear in that conversation with Alex, that really all options are still on the table with what's going to happen with this combined company. So we're still trying to work our way through it, and figure out what the best thing to do is, because we have BlogTalk Radio has been around for a really long time, and it has a lot of loyal shows and loyal show hosts, and we want to respect those people, and keep them on board and not scare them. I mean, at the end of the day, combining companies can be a little bit of a shaky thing for
Mm-hmm.
customers.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that everybody feels safe and everybody realizes that we're going to do the right thing for them, and make sure that anything that we do doesn't disrupt their ability to be successful show hosts.
Well,
So, and that's the big message.
and I think I don't envy you on this merger at all, because I understand that dynamic completely. And oftentimes,
Yeah,
we don't publicly talk about it, but we've done. Well, I have a little bit, I guess. So I guess I am publicly talking about. We've done a couple of rounds talking to groups of people.
sure.
Um, they were looking at us, and we were looking at them, and oftentimes it's
People are,
in the
yeah,
early days. In the first deal that we had, where we went to New York and was talking to a group, and we really never said too much about it. The culture of that group did not marry at all with us. It was the culture was completely different. I was in their offices, and the programmers are rolling in at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and kind of this lazy fare. I'm like, this is a startup. This thing needs to be stroking it, at the crack of dawn and be running full tilt. And that was not the vibe I got out of this startup that was looking to acquire us. And I just like that. This deal doesn't, just from a culture standpoint, did not um, feel like a match. So I think you guys have got the culture thing figured out. I think the DNA is there, and it's just the mechanics of how you're going to make it happen is going to be the. I'm glad I'm not in those meetings. Have fun. And hopefully, if you can get through this without anybody getting a bloody nose, I think you'll be succeeding. It's everyone has
Yeah.
their, even though you're merging, you have separate, you both are, it's both babies, and you're trying to, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'd love to be a flea on the wall listening to some of those conversations, but, good luck.
Well, and Francesco is going to be the president of the combined company, so that's the boards have already made that
Oh,
decision, and he's gonna lead it. So you can imagine, there's going to be a bias towards Spreaker in that pursuit because he loves Spreaker, and it was, I think it has a brand that resonates with people in the podcasting space very well. I think it has a very, very positive kind of view. So we shall see, and it's very possible that that both brands will persist, at some level or something. I mean, because that may be the right thing to do for our customers.
were
No.
you supposed to say that?
Yeah, actually, Francesco said it in
Oh,
his
okay.
interview. If you go
Oh,
listen to his
wow.
interview, he says
Okay.
the same thing. So
Wow.
I'm not saying anything that's different than what's
Okay.
already
Okay.
been put out there.
We'll continue
and
to work on that as the
and
months go on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then the combined companies have about 50,000 shows, so we've got a lot of shows, and like I've said on this show many times, there's a lot of shows on Spreaker that aren't really podcasts.
Right. Right.
I don't consider them to be podcasts, so it's a little bit of a different company between these two. I mean, we're a little different than some of the other players in the podcasting space. We're not a cookie cutter, just like everybody else kind of deal.
Where is Blog
Um,
Talk's dev team? Are they in the United States or where are they at?
they are most of them are in Argentina,
Oh, that's interesting.
so we are like in 6 different time zones right now.
Wow.
So we are truly a multinational company
Hmm.
now. Multi-continent company might be another way of saying it.
Right.
So yeah, it puts us in an interesting position around that too, because I mean, we both know what's going on down in South America around this medium too.
Yep.
It's doing well down there. So we're in a good position, I think. And then we now have an office in New York, so I'm probably going to be spending time in New York, just like which I haven't been back to New York in quite a while. I know you
Sorry.
go to New York all the time. It's almost like a second home to you, right?
Yeah, sorry.
But
Sorry. I'm sorry you're having to spend more time in New York. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I used to fly back there all the time when I was working for Microsoft. Yeah,
Yeah, about 4 days there
so
is about all I can handle being in Manhattan. It just,
yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy. It's a crazy place to be.
Yep.
But there's so much media stuff going on there.
But I'm not a
It's pretty
content company
amazing.
either. So I'm we work with same as you guys. You guys aren't necessarily well, you are a content company, but you're not. You guys have a different goal than Gimlet or Panoply or those folks do. You're not building these. You're serving the common content creators. So
Yeah, and I think I mean, if you look at it from the big picture, your platform and our platform are very much about providing tools, right,
hmm
and capabilities to support the
yep,
content
yep,
creator and the person that's generating the content.
yep.
That is like the last piece of the puzzle that isn't part of our platform. That is certainly a big presence. I mean, look at what's happened with the investment. You've got How Stuff Works getting 15 million.
Well,
You've got Gimlet.
they got 17, and they're spinning off as their own brand. So
Oh, okay.
the podcast stuff
Okay.
is
Well,
going
I
to
saw
set.
15 million.
Or was
I
it
saw
15?
15, but
Oh, maybe it
yeah,
was 15.
yeah.
Whatever the number, it was million something. But they're going to
So there's spin it off from who?
their podcast part is going to be separate.
Oh, okay. From their video part,
Right.
right? Is that what
Right.
they're doing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So and they've got a huge.
All right.
They have a huge bevy of shows. Huge. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Well,
600, 700 shows, something like that. A lot of people don't even
they've been
know that.
operating for a long time.
Yeah.
They've been operating successfully for a really long time.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, the VCs are seeing value in content now,
Yep.
which is really amazing. I mean, that hasn't been the case.
Mm-hmm.
This is something new. This is really something new. Um, seeing that much money go into a content company, not a platform company, not a technology play, because how stuff works in Gimlet is not; those are not technology plays,
No,
from what I understand.
matter of fact, how stuff works uses some of our technology. So it's
Yeah,
they're not a tech company. That's for sure.
yeah,
So
and to have that level of investment going into content um, really says something to me. That's a big change, and we shouldn't un- underestimate what that means.
no, and if you look at there is real money in big shows. Let's be frank.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
if my little Geek News Central show can sustain me in Hawaii, and it's just me, I know what Geek News Central's worth from a dollar and cents worth, and you know, it's for me, it's a very valuable property. And then if on the opposite token, I look at some of these other shows that are obviously way, 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 way bigger than my little tech show. Um, then I understand where the force multiplier is on what revenue potential. We're talking some of these shows can easy in revenue. Some of these bigger shows can probably generate a half million, $750,000 in revenue a year. Easy, 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 easy. Based
mm,
on audience size. And it doesn't take too much. You just do the math alone. If you take a podcast that has just let's say 100,000 listeners, and you take an ad spot, and one ad spot in that show is, let's say that sells for $3,000 per show, and they have three advertisers in the show, and they're pulling in 10 grand an episode, and they're doing 3 episodes a
yeah,
week. You start thinking about that all of a sudden that's big bucks on the gross side. So
yeah.
we're
That's
not.
true. If you're getting 3 2 to 300,000 downloads or plays, you're into some good money.
You
So,
get if you get 50,000 downloads a month, you can make this a full time gig easy.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. As far as that goes, yeah.
Yeah, and start to afford to hire people to write and help you with production and that kind of stuff. So
And what's really interesting about it is if Google does get all in on this, I mean, we could see those subscriber and those listener numbers go up for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, across the board.
Think about
I
it.
think that's what we're all looking at.
Think about a 50% increase potentially overnight. That would be, or 35%. That would be, man, that would be an inflection point. But in the risk then is going to be is Google's implementation. If they actually do what we're thinking they may do, then how's the revenue share going to work? They're going to have to look at revenue share differently, I think, from this than YouTube. But maybe they won't. Maybe they'll apply the same model. And if they do, then um, you know, podcast. Well, I said it during the state of the podcasting session. I said podcasters need to be prepared now, and I'm going to resign myself to this, and it sucks, but um, with programmatic starting to come on, the new norm might be 6, 10, $12 CPMs, and we've been talking about it on this show. But if you have no advertising now whatsoever, is 12 better than nothing? I'm going to hold the line on host reads, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But
Well, any kind of feedback that I'm going to give Google is going to be trying to shoot for those higher CPMs. Let's build a platform that will enable us to keep the CPMs up.
but the problem is they're it's not a model that they do at YouTube. At YouTube, you can be a media buyer and go in and buy YouTube on
Yeah,
your own. You don't
yeah,
and you just upload copy and it's done. It's there. It's going to get served, and
yeah,
you don't have much choice on sometimes it's a race to the bottom. So
yeah.
I had a individual talk to me about remnant, and I'm like, remnant is not a word you can use in the podcasting space because
Don't even use it. Don't
that
even
that,
use it.
that is a
Yeah.
word you should never. That is not a word that should be ever talked about in the space because podcasting is not like radio. We're on 24 hours a day. There is truly no remnant material, remnant inventory.
Yeah. I agree with that.
There's none. But
Yeah. It just doesn't work that way. I think
no.
that's a radio person looking at it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a person that really understands the medium. If they're talking like that, they don't really understand what they're talking
Yeah.
about.
So, I had to spend
Um,
time educating a little bit on that particular topic as well. And I said, don't forget, the guy that's doing the show is the GM. He's the general manager. He's the advertising marketer. Oh, and he's also the talent. So, you know,
and in remnant inventory, oftentimes, I mean, unfortunately, and that's where we run into some problem is considered unsold inventory, right?
right.
So, but unsold inventory in the podcasting space isn't the same thing as a radio spot that plays at 2 a.m. on Sunday Sunday night. Um, it's not the same thing.
Yeah. So, anyway, that,
So, yeah.
but, oh, we've covered a lot of ground here. And we haven't even looked at what's in the news. I've had my head down all last week with my client, but I just it's exciting. I'm going to tell you, there it's going to be I think you're going to see more investment. You could see some more mergers. You could see some outright purchases. I think everything. I think everything's on
No,
the table right now.
yeah. I think that there's been more chatter around companies talking to each other than
Hmm.
really ever before.
Yeah, hence the
There's
bar
there's
discussions.
yeah, yeah.
So
And the VCs are paying attention now. There's just a lot of buzz in the space right now. Um,
it's not necessarily the VC. It's not. I wouldn't say necessarily VCs. It's late investment companies that come in when you hit a certain marker. They're looking for companies with a generating
oh,
X amount of revenue.
yeah. It's not startup investment. Yeah.
No, no, it's
This is this is investment in
it's old money.
fairly profitable companies.
Right. It's old
This is
money.
growth.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's growth investment is what I would
yeah.
call it. Yeah.
And someone asked me, "What would you do with this much?" And I said, "I'd buy this, this, and this." You
you and you'd be in our situation.
when you buy something out, you guys are merging. You guys aren't
I know.
buying. So,
That's true. That's
yeah.
true. That's true.
Um,
There is a difference between buying and merging.
why, yes, there is. There's a big difference.
There's a big difference in culture and a big difference in expectations
Right.
between the two companies.
Yeah.
Um, buying tends to have a negative connotation to it.
And
Merging tends to have a more positive outcome too.
yeah, yeah. But I think
So,
I was, coming back, I had probably 30 topic items that I wrote down as stuff that, was discussed at the show or things we heard from customers or, so there was a lot of feedback that came and good feedback and, I, doing deals right at a break area, so there's a lot of people that are, making moves right now and trying
yeah.
to determine what they're going to do with their networks and everything else. But it was
So did you see? Oh, go ahead, Todd.
but I
Sorry, I
was
thought you were done.
surprised that we didn't have as much radio traffic, at least at the
Yeah.
booth. Go ahead. What did I see? What?
Did you happen to notice whether there was a lot of kind of new podcaster traffic to your
Mm-mm.
booth?
Mm-mm. These 90%
No,
of the people we talked to were
existing.
existing.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Here's what I'll tell you what the show has done. We've moved. A matter of fact, Mike Dell, my lead support guy, he basically says, "I'm tired of talking about SoundCloud. because we moved a massive number of people after the show. That's all they did all last week was move people off SoundCloud, and it was largely from people that were at Podcast Movement that were shopping. I'm sure the other companies were doing the same, but we've moved. Eh, they've been slammed just moving people off SoundCloud from the show, and people. It's weird, and maybe it isn't off from the show, but maybe some people finally, now that things have calmed down over there, they decided to make the shift. The panic's off, so they can do a strategic move. But um, they're losing. They're losing a lot of podcasters.
I have been hearing a lot of talk about there's some concern that Spotify is, or not Spotify, but SoundCloud is not going to support the new Apple tags.
Now they're not employed. Right? Well, who do they have to do it? Their team was
Yeah,
disbanded.
yeah.
At least that's my understanding. So
So that's going to put them at a disadvantage.
right? And come September, and I told the guys it comes September 20th or whenever OS 11 is released, because they're going. I think the new iPhone is going to be announced on the 12th of September. So that usually means 8 to 9 days later before iOS when they start delivering. So if the iPhone starts delivering on the 20th, they're not delivering it with iOS 10. It's going to deliver with iOS 11. And the second that comes out, and all these podcasters update, they're gonna well, if you're not ready for these new tags, people are gonna be like, why? And when they find out that they're not and don't have a response to it, I just tell the team, be ready when this rolls. We'll have another influx of people that are moving off services that don't support the new tags. Because some
Yeah,
podcasters don't. Okay, and shoot myself in the foot here, but a lot of podcasters don't need them, but they're going to think they need them, and they're
yeah,
going to react when they're not supported.
yeah.
What do you
Or
think?
they need to be assured that there's going to be a pathway soon, um,
Well,
fairly soon after the deployment.
Rob, they've
But
had
yeah,
since February or whenever
I
they.
know. But nobody's really known for sure when Apple was going to pull the trigger on this either.
Well, the
So
iOS 11
yeah,
update, we know that updates come with new iPhones, so you
and
know
and there's no reason why those tags can't be implemented right now. It's not like it's going to break anything.
we were ready 2 days after they announced the new tags. We didn't release them for a month, but we
Yeah,
were ready 2 days after.
yeah, yeah.
It's okay, and go ahead. I hope they don't implement them. Yes, okay. Ha ha ha.
It
So
says Bravo and Oxygen reach new milestone with their podcast. Did you see this article that
no,
came out?
no. What was that one about?
I don't know. Just I guess they're talking about. I guess Bravo and Oxygen have podcasts. Huh? Who would have thought?
Hmm.
They've had 1 million downloads, Todd.
Hey, well, a million's a million. A lot of podcasters wish they could get to a million.
Yeah,
So also,
yeah.
this Podcast Detroit thing is going on, I think, too. This event, it was kind of sprung up the last minute. So there's an event going on in Detroit, and
Right now,
well, soon. It's not in.
I
I've got an email
I
I need to follow up with to make sure, see if we're going to send someone there.
podcast Detroit. It's called Podcast
Well,
Detroit.
it's I don't know if it's called Podcast Detroit, but it's a podcasting event that's going to be in Detroit. But I think it's mostly run by um,
Oh,
they've got an incubator over there. At
okay.
podcastdetroit.com. I don't know if they're doing it specifically but the event is going to have a whole bunch of Detroit podcasters. There's a lot of podcasting stuff going on in Detroit. So,
Okay. Oh, podcastdetroit.com. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to think. I may have been to this site once
yeah,
before. Let's see if it's the same one I'm thinking
I've
of.
got a task to follow up with somebody on Tuesday. So,
Oh no. It's well, that's right. We have International Podcast Day coming up, don't we?
oh, we do. and that's on.
We didn't talk about that.
Yeah,
We
we
didn't
need.
talk about that.
So here's those of you that don't know, International Podcast Day is September 30th, and Dave and the team over there they do about 30 hours of live events, and so they it's basically every hour they swap out and have someone new come in and give a session, and I know they're starting to work on their sessions that they want. I think we set a time for the podcast awards. I think it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. I think is what we agreed on. I have to go back and double check that. I got to start promoting that myself. But there is full like 30 hours worth of content that's going to be online and live sessions, training. It's usually a marathon event. It's fantastic. So International Podcast Day, September 30th.
So, so you're gonna do an hour of it or something yourself?
Well, the podcast awards ceremony is going to be streamed live during we're
Okay.
yeah. So we'll announce the winners and all
Okay.
that stuff on the 30th. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
man,
Yeah, I haven't been booked with doing anything for it this year, so
yeah, you
I don't know what's happening.
need to reach over there and talk to them, and if you want to have a time slot.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good opportunity to get some exposure. They usually carry a pretty big audience through the 30 hours. People come and go, but um,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah,
hope
because
that.
they usually do like a sweep through all the time zones, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. Every time they start over, people are on from Australia and in Europe, and so it's not always 100% English either. So it's they have sessions with people in their native language. So, but yeah, I think we should ramp up their numbers. I would think for live audience by the having the award ceremony on 8 p.m. Yeah, I think that's the time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll re-verify that with my notes, but I should have been prepared to promote that. Bad podcaster.
Bad,
Yeah,
bad,
bad. But
bad.
well, we're already
Oh yeah,
hours
we're way
way
past.
over. But we helped quite a few folks. Had a lot of folks on YouTube today. Had a lot of folks on the Facebook. I think we were as high as 8 or 9 on Facebook at one time. So one thing is, please check in on Facebook when you're watching us. Please say hello. We want to hear from you, and I want to thank everyone that did. Tim, Rick, Francesco, Rob McCracken. So love Rob. He's always fun to hang out with at events.
Yeah,
So
yeah, great guy.
him and I are gonna do a trip together some point. We're gonna pick a destination.
What?
Yeah, yeah. We were talking about
What does
him.
that mean?
Yeah, we're gonna
What,
do
like a
yeah,
cruise or
yeah,
something?
it's a vacation or something. Him and I are gonna go, have a guys trip somewhere or something. Maybe I don't know. We're just talking
Okay.
about it. Just shooting the shit. Maybe Vegas or something. Maybe if you want to come along, Rob, you can come along too. So
That sounds rather scary, actually.
well, it'd be a lot of fun. Just have to, have your wife give you a hall pass for a couple of days. A
Yeah,
limited hall
there you
pass
go.
to
Yeah.
hang out with Todd. Uh,
Nothing can go wrong.
yeah, what goes to Vegas gets posted on Facebook.
That's right.
And it's safer to go with a group because then you keep each other in check. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I need all the help I can with that.
Oh, whatever. So we've been having a lot of fun on the show. It just, if you guys, those of you that did not come or could not come to podcast movement, if you start planning now and next year's in Pittsburgh and, save some money now if you want to come. It's really more of a family reunion. You're going to learn some stuff, but you're going to be able to hang out. And, it's for me, that's the more important part of the whole event. And you can learn something at the
Yeah.
same time. And it's just a good time. So make sure you plan to come next year. I don't think I've ever been in Pittsburgh, so I think for me this will be a new city to
Oh, in Philly, you
explore.
mean?
Or in Philly, that's right, Philadelphia, not
Philadelphia.
not
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I don't know why I keep saying Pittsburgh,
Yep.
but
I don't know.
so it'll be in Philly. Yeah, I think I was in Philly once and got like an afternoon and got a Philly cheesesteak. Yeah, I have been to Philly once, but never spent
Dave
any time in the
Dave
city.
Dave Jackson and I went to get a Philly cheesesteak in downtown Philadelphia, and we visited the Liberty Bell together after last year's Mid Atlantic Podcast
Oh, that's
Conference.
cool.
So we had a chance to hang out together for a day. So it
Yeah,
was fun. It was
yeah.
fun. It's a great city. It's a great city. So it should be a great event.
Well, there's a lot of an incredible amount of history there too. So
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah,
that's where the Constitution,
right,
the U.S. Constitution, was signed,
yeah,
and you can actually take a tour through that little building where they actually did that, where the founding fathers all got together and formed the U.S. Constitution.
and I think don't they have? Isn't the original Constitution on display there? Do they have that? Is it
I don't
there?
believe so. I believe that's at the Smithsonian
Oh,
in
okay,
Washington D.C. on the
okay.
mall. Yeah,
So there probably
yeah.
is a
That's
replica there. But
I didn't see a replica
no,
there when I was there
hmm,
because I took a tour. Both Dave and I took a tour through that whole thing together, and
gotcha.
I didn't see a Constitution there. It was just where the big room was, and they had it all staged like
Right,
it
right.
was when they signed the Constitution.
Exciting,
So
exciting, exciting.
it
So,
is. It is. And it's going to be a little earlier. It's going to be what, the end of July
oh,
instead of August.
okay,
So it's like the 23rd, 24th through the 27th or something like that of July.
all right. Hmm.
So it'll be a little earlier. So it'll be less than a year before the next podcast movement.
Wow. And now people are already speculating where the 2019 event is. They've got this running poll. My prediction is they're going to bring it
It's gonna
back to Texas. That's my 5 year and 5th year. Though is it be will next year be 5 or what was this? This was
This was
3.
4.
This was 4. So next year's
4.
5.
This
Okay.
was 4. Yeah.
Wow! 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 Wow!
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Holy cow! Time
Yep.
flies. We're having fun. All right.
Yeah, and they had at the conference they had little stickers you could put on your badge
Oh,
that
that's
said how many
right.
years
Yeah.
you've been in attendance.
So
And I
Dan,
didn't see a lot of 4s. I didn't see a lot of 4s around. Did you?
yeah, I was a 4, but so I should have knew that. Hey, by the way, Dan, badges that have names on both sides.
Oh yeah. Well, and also have the company name and the name be a little larger on the badge too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it looked like. Now, of course, we sponsored the back of the badge, so
You covered up Block Talk Radio. What's wrong with you?
well, now come on now. So we were assisting people in doing the right thing and having the proper advertisement on the back
Oh,
and
you were doing the right thing.
yeah,
Yes.
we were doing the right thing and
Okay.
helping them.
Okay.
Yeah. So Blog Talk, sorry you didn't get your advertising dollars worth on mine. Um, so yes,
Todd, you're so
yes,
bad.
yes. Vendor rebellion. Uh, so
They
and
paid good money for that.
yes, they did.
Come on.
I was going to show you what else I had on it too. We have these real cute little limited edition blueberry. Um,
Oh, very nice, Todd.
yeah,
Very nice,
yeah,
Todd.
yeah. So we gave a few of these away as to select friends. So
Swag.
yeah, these little cute little pins. These things are not cheap, but they're awful cute. So
They are. They are very, very political.
your guys'
Right?
stuff is going
Gotta
to
have a
be
pin.
BTR Spreaker Talk Radio or something like that.
Yeah, it'll be something that complicated.
That's right.
Nobody will be able to remember. Yes.
All right, everyone. Thanks for being here, and I
All
hope you
right.
had a good time. If you got feedback about your attendance at Podcast Movement, or if you're wishing you would have went, um,
Well,
again,
there's also a virtual ticket. I think you can still get, right?
I'm going to tell you, it's probably worth buying that virtual ticket. Because I'm looking forward to it because I want to. There was so many sessions that were like, ooh, I want to go to that one.
Yeah, I missed pretty much everything. Yeah.
I'm going to be redoing my session live at some point here and expanding. it was, I was really worried about my session because I did this social media strategies, and um, in my first slide was I'm not here to teach you how to tweet. A few people got up and left, but the rest of the folks stayed, and um, I was really concerned because the flow of it was kind of weird, but I got good feedback on it, so I'll do it live and expand because there's so much stuff I couldn't talk about in the 45 minutes I had to, you know, put it together. Then I don't know. Do you feel that way too, Rob? Sometimes you're like, man, I need another 10 minutes or so. We definitely needed more time for the state of the podcasting
Yeah,
session.
we didn't really get much time to
No,
take Q&A questions at
no,
the end. It just
yeah,
was too much to cover.
yeah. We ran out.
I tried to squeeze in. I think we got in one, maybe two questions, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
it was.
but yeah, it was not. 45 minutes was too short for that session.
Yep, there's too much
Yeah,
to cover. Okay,
yeah,
well, we've
exactly.
self promoted too much here already, but everyone, thanks for being here, and thanks for hanging out with us on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can email me directly, Todd@blueberry.com, or follow me on Twitter @Geek News. Rob.
Yeah, you can reach me, Rob at Spreaker.com, and that's with an R, and or just send me an email to Rob at RobGreenlee.com. But definitely, if you're curious about the Blog Talk Radio thing, go to Spreaker Live Show. Just go to SpreakerLiveShow.com, and you can catch that conversation with Francesco. He explains it, the whole merger, in great detail right there. It's about a 20-minute conversation talking about it. So
And Rob,
go check that out.
send me the link to that, and I'll make sure it gets in the show notes today, so it's in there, so you guys are curious about it
Okay.
can check it out. But
Okay.
glad we'll be back next Saturday on a regular schedule. So I'm home for a couple of weeks, I think, and but
Okay.
we'll go from there. But we'll see you next Saturday on the New Media Show. Thanks for being here. Everyone, have a great Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your day off for those of you that get a day off tomorrow. And
Yeah.
we'll see you here next week. Everyone, take care. See ya. Aloha.
Good night. Bye.